So I'm going to take you through how I made this star Christmas card. The yarn I'm using, as with the other cards in this range, is a sparkly yarn by C Brett. So I've got silver, black, red, green and white for this card. The crochet hook I'm using is a 2.75mm. And the card I'm using is just short of 15 centimetres square. But again, you can use any card that you've got available in any colour, as long as your finished stars and mistletoe fit onto the card itself. So we're going to start off by making one of the stars. So if you take our silver yarn, we're going to start with a slip knot. Put that onto the hook, and then we're going to chain 2. So 1, 2. Now this first round will be worked into that first chain that we made. So we'll skip the one nearest the hook and we're working into that first one. So we're going to be working 5 double crochets. If you're working in US terms, that will be 5 single crochets. So for the first one, we insert the hook into that first chain, yarn over, pull the yarn through, and then yarn over, pull the yarn through the 2 stitches. So that's our first double crochet. I'm going to put a stitch marker in that first stitch so that I can identify it when I work my way around. And then we need 4 more double crochets into that first chain. So that's another one. So that's 2 in total. That's 3. That's 4. And that's our 5. So we've worked the 5 double crochets into that first chain. So I'm going to pull on this yarn end to close up that circle. And then we can see our first stitch there. So that's where we're going to start our second round. So we're going to do this in continuous rounds for now. We're not going to slip stitch join. So in that first double crochet that we made on that first round, we're going to work our first double crochet of this second round. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So that's our first double crochet of the second round. Now this is an increase round. So in each stitch, each of the 5 stitches we made in the first round, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So I've just done the first one. I'm now going to do the second one into that same stitch. So pull the yarn through and then yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 2 double crochets into that first stitch. So we now move on to the next stitch, and again we're going to do 2 double crochets into this next stitch. So that's 1, 2. So into the next stitch, another 2. That's 1, 2. Into the next stitch, we're going to do another 2. So that's 1, 2, and in the final stitch we're going to do 2 double crochets, so that's 1 and 2. So if you count those stitches around now, you should have 10 stitches. So we're going to move on to the third round. Now in the third round we're going to increase in the first stitch and with 2 double crochets, and then in the next stitch we're going to do 1 double crochet. Then in the next stitch it will be 2 double crochets, and in the next stitch it will be 1 double crochet. So if we go into that first stitch from the last round that we've marked with a stitch marker, we're going to work 2 double crochets into this stitch. So that's 1 and 2. So I'm going to put my stitch marker back in again into that first stitch we've just made. Okay, so we've just done an increase in that stitch. In the next stitch we're going to do 1 double crochet, and then the next stitch we're going to do 2 double crochet. So that's 1, 2. Then moving on to the next stitch, we'll do 1 double crochet, onto the next stitch, and we'll do 2 double crochet. Onto the next stitch, 1 double crochet, onto the next stitch, 2 double crochet, and then 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 1, 2, and in the final stitch we'll do 1 double crochet. So now you should have 15 double crochets all the way around this circle. Okay, so we're on the last round now, for the centre of the star, and we're going to be working an increase in the first stitch, so that's 2 double crochets in the first stitch, and then in the next 2 stitches we're just going to be working 1 double crochet in each stitch, and then that's the pattern all the way around. So if we remove that stitch marker, in this first stitch we're going to do an increase, so that's 2 double crochets, so that's 1, 2, just going to put the stitch marker back into that first stitch, and then we need a double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, so that's 1, 2, and that's the pattern that we're going to follow all the way around. So in the next stitch it's 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and then a single double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, 1 and then 2, and then we're back to 2 double crochets in the next stitch, 1, 2, then a single double crochet in the next stitch, and a single double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, the next stitch will have 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and then 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Then we'll have 2 double crochets in the next stitch, that's 1, 2, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and we're back at the beginning. So that's the centre of our star completed. You should have 20 double crochet stitches all the way around. So we're going to slip stitch join here, so into that first stitch that we made, insert the hook, grab the yarn, pull through, and that's the centre of the star completed. So we're now going to work on the 5 points of the star. So we're going to start with a double crochet into the next stitch, and into that same stitch we're going to put a half treble or a half double crochet if you're working in US terms. So yarn over, insert into that same stitch that we just did the double crochet, grab the yarn, pull through, then grab the yarn, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So I'm just going to put that stitch marker back into that first double crochet stitch that we made, and then we move on to the next stitch. So in the next stitch we're going to do 1 treble crochet, which is a double crochet in US terms. So yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and we're going to then chain 2, that's 1, 2. Now back into the same stitch we're going to do another treble crochet. So back into that same stitch, we just did the previous treble crochet, we're going to do another. So pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're going to move on to the next stitch, and we're going to do another half treble, and then in that same stitch we're going to do another double crochet, and then we're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch, and that's our first star point. So we're going to repeat that another 4 times around so that we've got 5 points on our star. So in the next stitch we're going to do double crochet, and in that same stitch we're going to do a half treble crochet. Then we're going to move on to the next stitch where we're going to do a treble crochet, and then chain 2, and then another treble in that same stitch, and then onto the next stitch where we're going to do a half treble and a single crochet in the same stitch, and that's our second point complete. So we slip stitch into the next stitch, and then into the next stitch we repeat the pattern again. So we'll do a double crochet into the next stitch and a half treble into the same stitch, and then we're going to do a treble stitch into the next, chain 2 and a treble into that same stitch. Okay, then in the next stitch we're going to do a half treble crochet and a double crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So we've done three star points. So if you want to continue, do another 2 star points to make a total of 5, and then I'll meet you back round at the beginning. Okay, so we've worked our way back round to the beginning. So I'm just going to do the last slip stitch into that last stitch, and then that's the star complete. So I'm going to cut the yarn off, then pull the yarn up through that stitch, and I'm going to fasten off. By just taking that yarn down into the back of the star and just weaving it through some of the stitches. Now the glue that we use to stick the star onto the card will help to ensure that that doesn't pull out. So I'm going to fasten off this yarn from the start as well. So I'm just going to weave that through some of the stitches on the back to tuck that in. Okay, so there's our star. So the next thing to do is I'm going to put a couple of eyes on the front. So I'm going to take some black yarn. Now you can position the eyes wherever you want to on the back, and I do mine using French knots. You can use beads or plastic eyes if you prefer, if you've got those available. So you can, the star can be any way up that you choose. I'm going to insert the yarn roughly where I want my first eye to be. So I'm going to put it about there. So pull the black yarn through, just leaving a short tail on the back. Then take the yarn in my left hand and then I've got the needle in my right hand with the yarn around the front there. So take the needle, wrap the yarn around the needle a couple of times, and then taking that needle straight down just to the side of where it came out, push through. And then use the yarn on the back to tighten up your French knot. Okay, so there's my first eye. So I'm just going to tie the yarn together to keep it in place. And snip off the ends. Okay, so that's one. So I'm going to do my next eye on this side. So push through from the back again. Small tail left behind. Take the yarn with your left hand. Wrap the yarn around the needle a couple of times. Put the needle straight down at the side of where the yarn originally came out. Push through. Then pull the yarn tight on the back. Okay, so I'm going to just tie those two yarn ends together. Snip off the ends, and that's the two eyes of the star done. So I'm now going to put a small mouth on there in red yarn. So take a length of the red. And I'm just going to stitch a mouth in place. So just have a look where I want it to start and come out through the front, leaving a small tail at the back. And then I'm just going to go down. I'm just using a series of small stitches. You can make the mouth as large or as small as you like. I want it to come up there. So it's just a series of stitches around in the shape that you want your mouth to be. Okay, so I'm okay with that mouth. I'm just going to turn the work over and, like with the black, tie those two yarn ends together and cut off. Okay, so there's one of our stars. Okay, now you need to make two stars. This is one I made earlier. So I've got my 2 stars ready for the card. What we're going to make now is the mistletoe, the berries. Now this is one I've done, and it's a simple, it's just 5 stitches around into the first chain. So I'll show you how we do that. Okay, so we're going to make a slip knot. And put that onto the hook. Then we're going to chain 2. So that's 1, 2, and we're going to work into that first chain that we made. So ignoring that chain that's nearest to the hook, we're going to do 5 double crochets into this first chain, or that would be 5 single crochets if you're working in US terms. So insert the hook into that first chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both stitches. So that's our first double crochet. So I'll put the stitch marker in. And then we need to do another 4 double crochets into that first stitch. So one, 2, 3, 4. So we've got a total of 5 double crochets now in that first chain. So I'm going to pull that yarn tail tight, and I'm going to slip stitch into that first double crochet that we made to join the round. So pull the yarn through both, and that's it. That's the berry completed. So I'll cut off the yarn to fasten off. Pull through that yarn just to fasten off that end there. Pull the middle yarn tight. So we've got our first berry. So with those 2 tail ends, I'm just going to tie them tightly into a knot. And just put that to one side with the other one, and we'll do the leaves of the mistletoe. So for the mistletoe leaves, we're going to make a slip knot. Put that onto the hook, and then we're going to chain 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 chains. Now we're going to work in the 4th chain from the hook. So ignore the first chain, the second chain and the 3rd chain, and we're going to work in this 4th chain from the hook, and we're going to do a treble crochet, or double crochet if you're working in US terms. So yarn over, insert the hook into that 1, 2, 3, into that 4th chain, then yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So the 4 chains that we skipped at the beginning will count as 1 treble crochet, and we've just created 1 treble crochet. So in the next stitch we're going to do a half treble crochet, which would be a half double crochet in US terms. So if we yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. So we're going to do another half treble into the next stitch, and into the next stitch we're going to do a double crochet or a single crochet if you're working in US terms. And into that very last stitch, we're going to do a slip stitch. Okay, so that's one half of the mistletoe completed. So we're going to do the same on the other side. So we're going to chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now keeping that chain flat, make sure it's not twisted. We're going to again do a treble crochet on the 4th stitch along from the hook. So yarn over and then count 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches along. We do our treble crochet into that stitch. Then in the next stitch we do a half treble crochet, and in the next stitch we're going to do a half treble crochet. And in the next stitch we'll work a double crochet, and then into that final stitch we will work a slip stitch. Okay, then we're back to the middle. Okay, so we're going to slip stitch, join into that first stitch of the other leaf. So grab the yarn, pull through both, and then we can cut the yarn off, pull through, and I'm just going to tie those together into a knot. And just get rid of these yarn ends by just weaving through a few stitches along the back. So there's the first one. There's the second one. Okay, so we've now got all our pieces to attach to the card. So for the card, I've just put the message on the bottom. I've used these silver outline stickers, or you could handwrite on with a black marker or felt tip. So we're going to next we'll stick these into place. So just put them roughly where you want them to be. So for the glue, I'm using this Hi-Tack glue because it's ideal for paper crafts and fabrics as well. So if we just go with the stars first, just going to put dots of glue on those knots we made earlier, and then just glue all around the outside edge. This glue dries clear, so if any does come out from the edges, you won't be able to see it once it's dry. So if we take our first star, position it roughly where we want it. And press down into place. Oops. Okay, and Same with the second one. Oh, there we go. Press that down into place. So next we'll put the mistletoe leaves on. Just excess glue there, just get rid of that. There. And then for the white berries, I am just going to cut that white yarn tail off very close to the berry and put some glue over the top and put that first one in place, and the same with the second one. I'll stick that one in place. Okay, then we just need to wait for that to dry, and that's the finished card.